Hello and welcome back to season 2
We're back.
of the CouchSide Sports Report. Another year of some absolute
Madness sports talk from us.
I was going to say mediocre sports talk, but welcome back to the first episode of season 2 of the CouchSide Sports Report.
We're back,
I
man.
am Simon, that is Dylan, and we're coming back to you from the same couch, from the same room, with the same mindset, and that's producing the greatest sports podcast of all time.
Oh, is that right?
No. No, it is not.
You put that out there now, so maybe it turns into it. Who knows?
Oh,
but
maybe.
Yeah, man. But as you know, kia ora, hello, how's it going? I hope everything's gone well. I hope you had a great summer break.
Happy holidays, everyone.
Yeah.
It's been a while.
I hope you actually got a break over Christmas and New Year's for our friends in the Southern Hemisphere in the summer. I know our Northern Hemisphere friends, I want to say, get about a 1 or 2 week break. I think that's how it works. But
a little one.
Yeah, but I hope that went well for my Northern Hemisphere brethren and sisters. But yeah, mate, how was your summer?
Oh, my summer was great.
Because you look like you did a lot.
Well, I was going to do more, but I got sick on the second day of the year, so that was fun. Last day in Tauranga, I'd been down there for 5 days, woke up the final day, sore throat. I was like, oh no, here we go again.
Are you blaming that on Tauranga?
I am blaming that on the people I was around in Tauranga. Because I was going to go up north a couple of days later, but didn't end up happening because I was too busy, sick, at home, in the hot heat.
Although that would have given you a break.
It did give me a little bit of a break, but I was a bit annoyed because by the time I had recovered, the next day was work. I was like, are you kidding me? But apart from that, it was a very, very good break. It was very good to take it easy, relax, see the fam, see some friends. How about you, Mr. Courtney?
I did actually do quite a bit of work through the holidays, but it was I would say, I wouldn't want to say easy work, but I wouldn't consider it work.
Okay.
So, I mean, I got a break. I stayed in Auckland pretty much the entire time.
Oh, yeah?
And yeah, pretty much got a break. And to be honest, it felt like through our break, I know here, you had playoffs and stuff like that in sport, but it felt like sport took a little bit of a break, and then it has really popped off this past week and the week before.
It's popping off this week. Last week it'll be popping off in the next couple of weeks. A lot of big events in February we will be covering at some point in time.
Including, I forgot, because it starts in February, Super Rugby.
Yep, Super Rugby starts in February, but also starting out in February, you've got the Winter Olympics, you've got the World Baseball Classic, a lot of random events that we will be covering in some capacity. I think when the Winter Olympics are on, we might have to do some form of winter roundup.
Maybe.
To round it up, because, I love the Olympics, although winter sports are not my strong suit. Always give it a watch.
Neither mine, but hey, you got to start somewhere.
Being held in Milan and in Cortina this year, so
yes. And it's been quite controversial, as I have seen. So there's been stuff that I've seen come out about like the buildings not being ready and things along those lines.
Be very interesting.
Hopefully they sort that out. But let's just say, and let's get into it, man, with our Aotearoa New Zealand sport. The biggest thing that has happened in New Zealand sport, and I would say at least in the past 2 years, is what happened last week. Yeah, it was last week.
Last week.
The All Blacks came out with an internal report that was so damning that Razor is gone.
And before we get into that, please like and subscribe everywhere and follow us on all our social medias.
Just a little bit rusty, getting into it before that happens.
He's just eager to get into this, but we're on Instagram, we're on TikTok, and we're on YouTube and Spotify. If you're listening to us wherever, like or subscribe or follow, and then follow the link tree, and you'll be able to find us everywhere else.
And it's couchside.network on TikTok and Instagram. And if you're watching us on YouTube, hey, you're here. So, like Simon said, like, subscribe, and then go to Spotify and follow us.
And listen to the podcast again,
amen to that.
But hey...
let's get into this, man, because we're probably going to talk for a while on this one.
Yeah, although...
Because this was the biggest thing that's happened, really. It's probably it seems like a very big turning point for rugby here in this country.
It seems like a massive, it is a huge decision. It is a massive deal. It is a knee-jerk reaction. It is a panicked and a bit of a jealous reaction from New Zealand rugby, in my opinion. So,
Please explain.
We will get into that.
Yeah, I was about to say, because
after I explain.
I was about to say the jealous reaction. That's the part I'm looking for.
I have an explanation.
Okay.
So on Wednesday last week, reports came out in New Zealand that Ardie Savia was threatening to leave New Zealand rugby at the end of this season to go to Europe due to frustrations with the coaching staff. It was also reported.
Not sure how true that was, but it was reported in a lot of places.
It was reported in a lot of places, and also it was also reported a senior Blues player who was with the All Blacks 15 basically said no thanks to appearing in the All Blacks test against Wales.
And there was only one.
It was only one person who they could be. There was specifically a senior Blues player who was involved in the All Blacks 15, and if you look at the All Black 15 squad, there was only one senior Blues player who fits the bill. And it's a player we praise a lot on this podcast, but we're not going to out him even though everyone else online has. But the following day, last Thursday, the Irish Independent of all publications reported that Scott Robertson had been sacked, and that was confirmed later in the day by New Zealand Rugby, with his assistant Scott Hansen also expected to leave. So that is the run of events. So far, there's been no further updates from New Zealand Rugby, as they are probably interviewing every coach under the sun. And there have been many coaches linked. And with the top job in particular, some of these are actual links, some of these are just people speculating and suggesting. You have the odds-on favourite, well, the front runner for the job, I should say, in Jamie Joseph, current Highlanders coach, former Japan coach, former Māori All Blacks coach, and current All Blacks 15 coach. If you don't know, led a very average Highlanders team to a Super Rugby Championship in 2015. Had a very injury-stricken and depthless Highlanders team. Still win a few games last season, but most importantly, managed Japan for almost a decade, took them to their best ever World Cup finish in 2019, and turned them into a genuine Tier 1 team. However,
absolutely.
Other names such as Joe Schmidt, Dave Rennie, Warren Gatlin, and even Eddie Jones have been suggested. All four of them have their positives and their negatives.
And in the case of Eddie Jones, it's way too much negative. Please don't.
I think he's more than happy back with the Japan job. I think that is his dream job, Japan.
Well, you could argue that he was the one that ruined Australian rugby anyway.
Well, he was only there for 6 months.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. But other names have been suggested for wider coaching jobs, not necessarily the top job. You have Clayton McMillan, who was at the Chiefs, who's now at Munster, but he's only just moved there, so I'm not sure how likely that is.
I'm not sure about that either.
Wayne Smith, former All Blacks coach in 2000-2001, assistant to Graham Henry from 2004 to 2011. Maybe slightly later on. And then you have Vern Cotter, current Blues coach, and more specifically Tony Brown, who is currently attack coach with the Springboks, and there have been rumours suggesting he will be brought out. However, as always, Rassie Erasmus, always stirring the pot, posted an AI-generated video on Instagram the other day of Tony Brown saying that he wasn't leaving in a Kiwi accent, taken, I believe, from The Wolf of Wall Street. So,
hey, we gotta have some character, man.
But no official announcement has been made by South Africa Rugby, by Tony Brown, by NZ Rugby. But we believe that the James Joseph does get the top job, which he has been All Blacks 15 coach for a year, and a lot of people suspect that he was put in that role for a reason. And that was if Razor was to leave for whatever reason, Jamie Joseph would inherit the role. Or they were looking at him as potentially taking over at the end of the next World Cup if Razor was to go. So it makes sense that he's the front runner. Some people are concerned I saw someone say he's got a losing record with Japan and with the Highlanders. I'm like, the Highlanders have the biggest issue in the world, which is they are one of 2 South Island teams, and the other team is the Crusaders.
Fair.
And very real, and a lot of top talent, I think, still from that area will end up in other places. It doesn't produce as much talent. They do uncover gems all the time, but it's not always going to happen. And with Japan, what were Japan doing 15 years ago at the World Cup? Oh, they were too busy not winning a single game, right? He comes in after 2015 where they somehow beat South Africa, and I think they also get a win over not Samoa, but the other team in that group. I think it was the USA. Was it the? I think. Let's just say it was the USA.
Let's
say it's the USA, and then Jamie Joseph takes over from Eddie Jones. He gets some more regular wins in the World Cup years. He beats Ireland and Scotland in the same World Cup. gets them to the top of group. Yes, they get smashed by South Africa, and even then, still takes them to the third in the group at the last World Cup as well. Still, and played probably their best ever losing effort game ever, which was the loss to New Zealand in 2022, where I genuinely thought we were going to lose to Japan. So Jamie Joseph is the main target, but Joe Schmidt, obviously, so long at Ireland, was with us at the last World Cup, has been managing Australia and did a pretty good job considering the lack of depth and the injuries that Australia have had this year. Yes, they got smashed in the Lions tour, but they beat South Africa in South Africa. So that is a massive achievement for any coach at this day and age. Dave Rennie was also the former Wallabies coach, let go very controversially in 2023, 9 months out of a World Cup, replaced by Eddie Jones. Probably got the short end of the stick, took over a pretty bleak Australia team. COVID hit, wasn't really given a fair run, in my opinion. Did take the Chiefs to 2 wins back in the early Super Rugby wins back in the early 2010s. It was a great team, but also his stock was quite high. And then the other, Eddie Jones, I think we can dismiss Eddie Jones,
and we better. And we better. But let's get into it, man, because there's really there's two sides of this, of course. It's what happened with Razor and New Zealand Rugby, and then also who is going to take over and what's that going to look like. So I'm going to go back to the point I started with, which was where you said it was a jealous reaction from New Zealand Rugby. So
I'll go over.
I'll let you explain that.
So I said a few things. I said it was a knee-jerk reaction, which it is.
I do agree with that.
The All Blacks have never really done anything flicked. Now, some people online are saying, "Oh, I knew this was happening since November," and it's like, well.
No, you
might be right, but you might be wrong. We're all fed information. We'll know. We'll know someone's high school friend, like a former All Blacks high school friend, and he'll tell us, "Oh, when I saw him last time, he said he was going to do this." And sometimes they're right, sometimes they're wrong. But this is, I think, still genuinely a knee-jerk reaction. I don't know if New Zealand Rugby really wanted to have to do this 2 years out from a World Cup.
I don't think it's ideal for any team to do this 2 years out of a World Cup.
It's not ideal for anyone. Teams do it, well, heading into 2023, Australia got rid of Dave Rennie and replaced him with Eddie Jones in January of that year.
Yeah, look how that went.
Rassie Erasmus was hired by South Africa about a year and a half before the World Cup. Look how that went.
True.
But I think it was a bit of a knee-jerk, but at the same time, they obviously didn't want to do it. And so I think they felt like they really had no choice. And they really felt like this was the only option.
Yeah, if those reports were true, which I'm sure they are, but if that internal report was true, that's a lot to be like, because what it became about was, at least to me, was not necessarily his coaching. It became about the culture that was happening around him and what he was letting happen. That's a lot. That's something, to me, that said something different.
I think a lot of people I've heard were basically suggesting that he wasn't really even coaching. Scott Hansen was. And
yes,
he was kind of just overseeing
that's what I've heard
which
too.
Wasn't why he was being brought in, right?
Yeah, that's crazy.
He was brought in to be the coach, the head coach. Now, yes, South Africa have that, like, director of rugby thing where they have, I think Rassie's technically director of rugby and he's got coaches below him. Well, that was the case in the past, and it's worked for South Africa. Worked going into the last World Cup.
Yeah,
but
he certainly coaches.
But he certainly coaches.
You know what I
mean? Maybe the job was too big, and I think we didn't really take into account the lack of international experience for Fraser. Yes, he coached Brazil in 2012 and 2013, but that's not international experience in the same level.
No.
And I think I tried to find Brazilian results, and it looks like every single game they played, they lost because they were playing against much better opposition.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a very big knee jerk, and they obviously felt like they had to make the decision. But keep in mind, David Kirk is currently de facto in charge of New Zealand Rugby at the moment. He's the chairman, but there's no CEO, there's no director of high performance, and now there's no coach. And so for David Kirk,
we're in a position here, man.
So that a lot of people are saying David Kirk is gone, well, this is the perfect opportunity. He will want people in those big roles that he trusts and he likes. This is the perfect opportunity for him to bring those people in. And I don't know much about David Kirk's previous business ventures. I don't think he's been with New Zealand Rugby for too long. but
No.
he won us a World Cup. I can't help.
Yeah,
Well, I
fair.
won't say he won us a World Cup. He captained us to a World Cup. I can't say I don't trust him. You know, I know he went. He retired shortly after the World Cup to go to Oxford, so he's had an education.
So I get the time will tell. I guess we're just going to have to find out. But yeah, knee jerk, absolutely.
Yeah.
I didn't think it would happen this fast.
No, I was like, if it really goes to shit at the start of this upcoming season, then maybe they'd have to have a talk about. And I was only thinking maybe they just hire a bunch of people and take the pressure off him and maybe even demote him. I didn't think he was going to completely get the sack, and because I was like, New Zealand rugby don't give in to knee jerk, don't give in to pressure like that. They ride it out, or at least they haven't for a very long time.
Yeah,
this is massive, and like 2 years out, a year and a half out from a World Cup. I said some other things. I said knee jerk.
You said jealous.
What did I say before jealously? I think I said...
I can't remember. Go back to the footage, mate.
Go back to the footage.
I can't remember, but I do remember the jealousy part. So let's just explain the jealousy
knee-jerk
part.
reaction. Basically, I think a lot of people... I saw this in online. This was a move out of jealousy as to what South Africa currently have. South Africa have a very, 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 at the moment, respected and high-performing...
Keep going.
Coaching staff, you know, with Rassie, with Tony Brown, with everyone else. And I think you could easily say that New Zealand Rugby are currently incredibly jealous of that. They've just won back-to-back World Cups. Yeah. They've got the most highly regarded coaching staff in international rugby right now. And New Zealand Rugby are looking at what Razor and Scott Hansen and everyone else has done and gone, and admittedly, probably a little bit jealous that they don't have that, you know, because...
But that, you are right, and that I agree with now that you've explained it.
Yeah.
But that also takes work.
Yeah.
Like it takes work. A lot of work. It takes work in finding the right people. So I hope it was not, we're jealous of that, you know, if that's the case. But what I'm hoping it more was, man, we you know, I think we need to make a change here in terms of quality, because we need to keep up and keep being better, which is an awesome thing. And every team goes through that.
The thing with international rugby is you can't really just change up the players because you can't buy players.
No, you can't.
You're stuck with the players from your country. That's something you can't change.
Yeah.
New Zealand Rugby, they could call up internationally based players if they wanted to, but obviously that's going to be a very, very big question. Still going
as time
forward,
goes on, absolutely.
As we, I think, believed Razor was a big fan of allowing us to select foreign-based players, I'm still kind of in the box that we should maybe be giving more exceptions, but obviously not taking the piss too much.
Yeah.
And see how it happens. I mean, if it isn't actually affecting the local game as bad as people say it would, maybe loosen it a little bit. But I want to remember what I said. I was like, it was a knee jerk. It was out of jealousy. I think it was also just out of suddenly becoming very impatient a little bit. Again, that's the same thing as the knee jerk. It's the same thing. We have to usually let things go ahead, but obviously something has happened. But they've gone, the best decision here is to move someone on. I don't think they've been tapping up people. Maybe they have handshake agreements with others that if this was to happen, they would come on board. I think Jamie Joseph is the biggest person there. Yep. Also, there are a bunch of other coaches that could be involved, which I don't know, they will be former coaches like Steve Hansen and Ian Foster and even like Leon McDonald. Yeah. But yeah, we just have to wait and see. Reports will come out after who's more favoured and who's not going to be available. The main rumours everyone was suggesting was that New Zealand Rugby had brought out Tony Brown's contract with the Springboks, or there was an out clause or something, and he would be coming in with Jamie Joseph.
I heard that too.
Who's had a very strong coaching partnership with for well over a decade. They both
Highlanders, Japan. Did they work together in Japan?
I believe they did. They very much respect each other. I think I saw something that Tony Brown reportedly has rejected New Zealand Rugby's advances twice before, but those were not to do with Jamie Joseph. And a lot of people were suggesting that if Jamie had the job, it would be different. And I think a lot of people also suggesting that Joe Schmidt and Wayne Smith will also be a part of it. I think that's just going all in. in terms of coaching. Like Joe Schmidt was a selector at the last World Cup. He did everything with Ireland. We know how good he's been with New Zealand rugby before. And then Wayne Smith, obviously, he's won 2 World Cups, I believe. Maybe one, I'm not sure. No, I think he's just won the one.
But he's been within the camp when we've had a lot of our very best teams, especially of the 2000s. So, that's there just to end the, we'll move into the who's actually what it's going to look like. But just to end it off, look, we've been critical of Razor on here quite a bit. I do feel sorry for how it's gone down. I feel incredibly
bad for him because
that does suck.
I feel like both parties, New Zealand Rugby and Razor, was sold a dream that wasn't really achievable. I think New Zealand Rugby was sold the dream that they had the coaching messiah who had done the unthinkable and won so many titles in a row. Yeah. But then you keep in mind, he won all of his titles in a row with an incredibly stacked Crusaders side, and 2 of those titles don't really count because they're on COVID. Remember that. And that's not me being petty and being biased. That's me being genuine. There were some complications along the road. And keep in mind, they didn't win Super Rugby Pacific 2021. Remember? The Blues won that, but again, I'm not being biased. He didn't win that. He only won Super Rugby New Zealand. We won Super Rugby
Trans-Tasman.
Sorry, Trans-Tasman 2021.
Yes, yeah.
He may have won the Pacific tournament, but he didn't win the other Super Rugby tournament that year. But
I guess,
and then New Zealand, and then he was probably sold the dream that he was going to basically have a whole 4-year cycle with New Zealand without any pressure at first, because he was going to be able to do it his way, and his way worked with the Crusaders. Unfortunately, it didn't work. And I think, and a lot of people say, people were saying...
And we say that it didn't work. He did win 77% of his games.
And that's what I was saying. People were saying, how can you fire a guy with 77% win percentage? But you look at the losses in particular, and that's where you look, okay, so you lost by 30 points at home to South Africa after beating them the week before. Yeah. You lost in Argentina for the first time. You lost in England to England, who are good, but losing to England's never a fun thing. No. Yes, but I thought he had scraped the bare minimum, which was we haven't lost at Eden Park and we still have to Bledisloe. I felt like those were the unforgivables. If any of those fell, that was probably a sign that it was the end. Yeah. The fact we still won at Eden Park against South Africa. We still held the streak with the French, although it was a BC team, and Australia, who again injury and depth issues. Yeah. But we, still held on to the Bledisloe and beat South Africa independently from Eden Park. Like, it is really rough, but it just shows how much of a knee jerk, but also how high the pressure is, how high New Zealand Rugby regard themselves, and also how high they regard a lot of the senior players.
And that's where, when you look at comments and stuff, a lot of the international rugby whānau, let's call them that, the international rugby family, are all looking at that, and of course they're going, rugby's gotten so much better. Why did you do this? It's not the same All Blacks, which is somewhat right and somewhat wrong. Yeah. So yes, international rugby has gotten better. Oh, but I still think you have to hold yourself to the highest standard. Exactly. Because otherwise you're never going to get better.
And I hope
so, no matter what happens, the thing that has brought this along is there's going to be change. Whether it's for the worse or the better, we will certainly find out.
We're going to have a lot of change. And I hope this knee-jerk reaction is a show at the times that New Zealand Rugby are willing to be a little bit more lenient with making changes to the wider New Zealand game. I think player pathways need to be looked at. I know they're being looked at for Super Rugby this year with the whole new expanded training squad. Proper B team tournament would be appreciated. There needs to be player pathways because there's not nearly on the same level as what's been made available to players in the NRL, especially for the Warriors. Want to hold on to the local players, but when you guys got guys like Harry Inch moving to the Warriors without even really being given a shot in senior rugby, it is a bit concerning. We also need to make sure our players are playing enough rugby and are playing the best rugby at those ages to get to the level where you have players in Europe and in other countries where they are getting the right experience, they're getting enough game time. Because we rely a lot on the club system here, and a lot of people seem to really highly praise the club system in New Zealand, but sometimes I think, is it the best way for developing young players?
Yeah, I think you do have to look at it, and I'm sure New Zealand rugby will, but I think we do actually have a good club system here.
We do. But should that be where the key players are developing? Because you look at France, and obviously they have a league system, so it's different. But they have academies. The top teams are signing local players very young, and they're progressing through. They're playing at young tournaments, like age grade tournaments, with the same teams, with the same people, in and around professional environments. I'm not saying the clubs here. I'm talking like your Gallagher Cup teams and whatnot from Auckland, and the equivalents of other cities. Like, it's not. I think there's not the same resources. It's very much the players who get those resources are the guys who make academy teams out of high school. And I know they have those U16, U18 teams, but those are like training camps for like a week or two.
Yeah,
and they maybe play 1 or 2 games, and then that's only for a certain part of the year.
Yeah,
I think it's fine, but
it's worth looking at.
Yeah,
it's worth looking at. But let's look into what it could look like. So I've said this to you off camera. I think the most important thing for this coaching staff is not necessarily who the head coach is going to be. It's who he's going to have around him.
Yeah.
If it's so, let's say it's going to be. Let's say we can get Joe Schmidt into the coaching camp. Tony Brown, Wayne Smith. Keep Jason Ryan.
I think that's been the consensus. Keep Jason Ryan.
Like, man, if you get those 4 there, maybe with a Jamie Joseph as head coach, like that's it's the team around that to me is going to be the most important, because that's where I think that, like we've said before, with Scott Hansen, who seemed to take a lot too much of the reins, in my opinion. That's where we look at it, and we looked at Razor going, who have you got around you? You had Leon McDonald. Leon McDonald supposedly had a disagreement and left. Jason Holland announced that he was going. Eventually. It's. Like, that's going to be the most important. If Jamie Joseph ends up being the head coach, awesome.
Yeah.
But it's who is around. Like, yes, can we get Tony Brown, who's the best attacking coach in the world right now? I would argue. Can we get him back to New Zealand and have him coaching here? Can we get Wayne Smith, who I said has been around a lot of successful New Zealand teams? Can we get him back in and around? Can we get Joe Schmidt, who was... a lot of people said Joe Schmidt and Jason Ryan were the saviours of our 2023 World Cup. Do we get him in? And he's really made Ireland to what it is now.
Yeah.
So, it's more about who's around him. So, yep, Jamie Joseph is there. Like you said, Dave Rennie. I wouldn't necessarily have Warren Gatlin, but he's definitely up there. But who do you put around you is the real question.
And how you put them around you.
Yes.
I think we will look at, we'll definitely be looking, I think, at that, having that kind of, you have that director of rugby system, and then you have another head coach. I personally think that maybe that role at the top, above the head coach, is probably where you would more likely see someone like Joe Schmidt or Wayne Smith.
Yes. Yep.
The older
Agreed.
heads. I think that's, Joe Schmidt's not particularly old and could easily do a job as a coach, but specifically for someone like Wayne Smith, even a Warren Gatlin, if he was to be involved, would be up there.
Yes.
It would be in that position. But we just got to hone in on making sure we're hiring the right people, the right combination of people, the people, the coaches which are going to create the right atmosphere for the players who they're going to respond good to.
And I'm going to hate to break it to All Blacks fans like us right now. This shit isn't changing overnight.
No.
Like, it's going to take time, but, you like I said, no matter what happens from now, you're going to see change. Whether it is worse, whether it is better, it does not matter. It is change. And honestly, as somebody that's looking from the outside in, that's freaking exciting, dude.
It's exciting for change. I know we're all excited when Razor came in, but this is currently the excitement is more like, what are we going to unearth? What's going to be unearthed?
Who knows? It could be worse. It could be better.
It's going to be a very tough starting test. Test for whoever the new coaches are. You've got the first ever Nations Championship kicking off in July.
Yep.
I forget exactly who we're hosting in New Zealand. Then it's straight up to South Africa for 6 weeks.
Yep.
Where you've got 3 tests in South Africa, playing the former Super Rugby teams.
Is it 3 or 4 tests?
3 in South Africa, 1 in a to be announced location, which is very likely to be London in England.
Yes.
Of course it is. And then we play Australia here and away before going back on the Northern Tour.
Yes. So it's going to be a lot.
It's going to be a big year, and it's going to be a massive year for making sure all of the people who could be involved at the World Cup, which is now next year, who should be involved next year, are getting a shot and are getting in the system now. And I think we will probably, I don't know, depending on who's taking the reins, there could be some very big changes to who gets selected and how we select squads.
I think this change happening now makes this Super Rugby season even more key for a lot of players.
I think it almost makes almost more positions up for grabs in a way, because I feel like Razor selected a pretty safe squad until near the end, where I think last year he had more control over, it felt like, the previous year.
Yeah.
I also feel like, I hope we kind of move away from that thing we had where we were only really naming 5 loose forwards and 5 locks.
Yeah, do kind of hope we move away from that.
I kind of hope, and picking way too many centers, I hope whoever comes in picks the right amount of players for each position and is picking players, I guess, not like selecting the right players. And like looking back on last season, like I will admit that I think there could have been a chance for some players who didn't play at all who should have played. I actually think David Haverly should have gone the run out looking back on last season. I feel like it wouldn't have been a bad idea. And I'm a Blues fan, and I was very much saying David Haverly should not be in the All Blacks.
I said that too.
Heading into internationals, but looking back on what he had done with the Crusaders and what the All Blacks lacked at times, he would have been a very handy player to have as an option. We need to make sure that the right players are getting selected.
It's going to be very, and there's already been announced as well for Super Rugby guys moving away, for 2 Blues guys who are probably more on the fringe. Hoskins is going to, I believe it's the Newcastle Red Bulls.
Yep.
You've got AJ Lamb
after Clermont, I believe.
After Clermont,
or was it another club? I don't know.
It was somewhere in France.
The Hoskins one was inevitable, but AJ one. AJ hurts me a little bit because I was hoping he was just a couple of, a good Super Rugby season away from breaking into the All Blacks.
But he's looked at that centre, and yes, he can play wing, but I know he looked at that centre picture and been like, how the hell am I going to get into this?
Especially the amount of players who came in last year, who were selected last year. And on the wing, getting selected on the wing's fine, but wings in New Zealand disposable, unfortunately.
Yeah. And also Severis has I think he's leaving at the end of this year. So.
Supposedly he was, eh?
Yeah.
I forgot. Yeah. Wait, no, Severis was? Wait, no, there was a condition, wasn't there?
No, I didn't think there was a condition, but I'll let you search that up.
I completely forgot they announced Severis was leaving.
Yeah, but pretty much
that's how that's how long it's been since we've been on this podcast.
Yeah, it is.
I forgot that Severis was supposedly on his way out.
But so it's going to become a very interesting season. But I think what's more important, rather than the head coaching, is the director of rugby, if that happens that way, and the high performance as well. But what's more important is the people that are going to be in that assistant coaching staff. Who's going to be the attack coach? Are we going to be able to get Tony Brown, or do we bring in somebody else like Leon McDonald?
Yeah,
maybe Leon McDonald gets another chance to see what he can do.
I think he might get another chance. Yes, Severis is off to Perpignan.
Yes,
I think it's pending they don't get relegated, but I don't think they did. So.
Yeah,
I think it's actually season's still going on, but
so it's going to be interesting to see what happens.
And also, where Razor ends up in the future, because a lot of people are showing that there'll be options to boot in Europe, but also a lot of people suggesting it just feels like he'll end up in the Wallabies setup at some stage. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. He won't be the first former Crusaders coach.
I've been hearing that it's in his contract that he can't, for the next 12 months, go to a big European team.
That's kind of understandable. I'd want a month to kind of detox and relax after what was the 2025.
We'll talk about this with my Pittsburgh Steelers, but I think it's a very similar thing with our head coach that stepped down.
Of course.
Like I said, I think the thing to say at the end is there's going to be change. Yeah. Whether it's for the worse or the better, we'll find out. Maybe we unlock something, who knows, but it's not going to happen overnight.
And let's not panic if we lose the first game, guys.
Big facts.
It depends who it is
against. Big facts. But it's time to move on to, I'll leave this to you, mate. We've got our good old A-League, which has been going on.
That has been going
over the summer break, and what I have called, what is called the Oceania Football Confederation Pro League, the OFC Pro League, or as I call it, the Of Course Pro League.
Yeah, Of Course Pro League.
Which I've got a lot of questions about. But A-League, mate, what's been happening?
Up and running. So the A-League, Auckland FC is still top of the table, I believe, despite squandering an early lead to lose 2-1 to Melbourne City on the weekend in Melbourne. Hiroki Sakai did go off injured, which is not great because he's already been injured this season, and Francis de Vries also suffered a pretty nasty head knock, somehow played the whole game. Michael Vald's keeping was criticised online. Does Ollie Sale merit a chance in the starting role? I didn't really notice it too much. People were saying it.
Has Auckland FC, correct me if I'm wrong, been in a little bit of a slump recently? Little bit?
We'll lose a couple games and win a couple games and lose a couple games, but we're still top of the table.
Yes, fair.
But yeah, I think with Val, I think he hasn't done anything like just anything you'd say absolutely not. I know Ollie Sale's been quality for the Knicks in the past, but he did lose out the Perth job for a reason, and I think we have to be a bit wary. Yes, we can drop Michael Val, but we don't want to make sure we're handicapping ourselves even more, and I'm not saying it's going to happen, but I'm saying that's always an option. But the other team from New Zealand actually had a winning game. The Wellington Phoenix got a vital win over second place Sydney FC 2-0.
They helped us out there.
Helping out Auckland FC, believe it or not. And then their women's team got a great away win against Canberra United 2-0.
They scored goals.
They scored goals.
They scored goals.
They needed to score goals. The Phoenix men, who have signed a new signing whose name I've forgotten from Hearts, I think a former Norwegian international, and
they signed somebody away from Hearts who are at the top of the Scottish Prem right now.
It's on loan. I don't know if it's someone who's been playing, but yes.
Okay, wow.
As Hideki Ashige has been mutually terminated due to his injury, but he will be staying in Wellington.
Do they call it mutually?
Mutually terminated.
Mutually. That's something different.
Yeah.
I'm going to look up the signing while you carry on the conversation.
Speaking of the Phoenix men, who also signed Bill Tuiloma, massive signing, New Zealand all-white international.
I did not know that they did that.
Yeah, they signed Bill Tuiloma.
My boy Tuiloma.
Massive defensive signing. They're away to the Newcastle Jets on Friday night at 9:35. And Auckland FC host the Central Coast Mariners on Saturday at 5 p.m. The Phoenix women host Adelaide United on Sunday at 4 p.m.
Yes, sir.
Dylan's looking.
I've gone to transfermarket.com, the classic.
Good.
And it's asked me to, I accept and continue, you fools. It was, I saw Bill Tuiloma there. Was it a guy from Perth Glory? No. Was it Sander Carton?
Yes, Sander Carton has signed for the Knicks.
Yeah.
So he's an attacking player, much needed with Ashige being injured for the rest of the year. But as
let's hope. I've been saying this. I need my 2 New Zealand teams in those A-League playoffs, man.
Yeah,
we need
teams
it
in the final, please. As we move on to what you have christened the Of Course Pro League.
The Of Course Pro League,
it's
mate.
the OFC Pro League.
Yep.
And it's a brand new tournament, funding from FIFA, but for the Oceania Football Confederation. 10 professional teams in Oceania. Oceania's first professional competition kicked off at Eden Park on Saturday. Your questions?
Yeah, so, well, pretty much. I guess my first question is, so it's Oceania, so it's not a B League of the A League.
No, it's not a direct B League of the A League, but it basically the level.
Because I've seen Auckland FC with teams in, and I think Wellington Phoenix have a team in.
They
if
do
I'm not
not.
Mistaken. They don't, but I've seen other,
the level of play. I think would be essentially reserve A-League football.
Yes.
Or
Yeah.
OFC Champions League football, the best of Oceania. So it's below the A-League.
Yeah. But these other teams, this is not a question, but it's pretty awesome. Like you see Vanuatu United, Bulla FC, which is a great name.
Brilliant name.
You know, so I like the idea of this.
Yep.
Oceania actually gets a tournament, a league for once.
Yep. So there's 8 teams from New Zealand. Auckland FC were given a license. The squad is essentially completely different to the team which plays in the A-League.
Yes.
I think they're allowed to play 3 players who are in that A-League team. Liam Gilligan played in the first game, which I'll talk about later. South Island United, which are essentially a different version of Christchurch United.
Yep.
So a lot of players who play for Christchurch in that team, and also a bunch of other players. Teams, South Melbourne from Australia, also competing. They allowed teams from Australia to apply. They can't qualify for future because the winners of the Pro League from those winners, a representative for the next FIFA Club World Cup.
Yeah, I was about to say. So that was my other question. Was it'll be from this that we get the Club World Cup?
Yep.
Okay, yep, sweet.
So they, so South Melbourne aren't eligible for that, but it does put Auckland FC in a very good position to potentially be qualifying for that Club World Cup. Other teams though, Buller FC from Fiji, Vanuatu United FC from Vanuatu. You also have PNG Hikari from Papua New Guinea, the Solomon Kings from the Solomon Islands, Tahiti something. It's on the other page. Tahiti United. So those are all the other teams. Most of the teams are mostly made up of players from their respective countries. Each team is allowed 3 foreign players and 3 foreign Oceania players. So the teams from like Vanuatu and Fiji have a few Kiwis on their team, and a few. I know the Papua New Guinean team has a couple of Brazilians. So it's very, very interesting. And how the tournament works is that the teams are essentially. It's been held in 5 bursts, essentially. So teams will go to one place and play 3 games in a week. They'll have a break. They'll go to another place, play 5 games in a week. And then it will eventually go into the top 4 teams will play each other in one round, and the bottom 4 teams will play each other in another round. And then you've got the playoffs.
Is it a little bit baseball styles?
A little bit baseball
like how
styles.
they play in series rather than like in games back.
It'd be kind of hard to do home and away with this, considering there'll be teams in Melbourne and teams in Tahiti.
Yeah, true.
So
true.
that will be quite difficult.
Yeah.
And for
that's awesome, man.
financial ones, yeah.
I love
but
that.
Everyone
That's
will
awesome.
play everyone, and it is still a league table at the end of the day.
The Of Course Pro League. Come on.
Of course, Pro League. So the first game was Vanuatu United versus Buller FC. The first ever goal was scored by Solomon Island international Alex Samuel. However, they would also score in the 90th plus 6th minute to nab a 2-2 draw with Buller FC, who had Fiji internationals Roy Krishna, a legend, and the Bill Big score. Auckland FC managed to deal with South Island United 3-0 with goals to Kiwi Swede Oscar Folds, young Australian Bailey Ferguson, and the aforementioned Liam Gillian. I was at this game. We scored about 25 minutes in, and then I watched about an hour of the most mind-numbing, boring football of my life before we scored twice in the last 10 minutes to seal the 3-0 deal.
Can't be perfect, mate.
Can't be perfect. And on Sunday, South Melbourne nabbed the 90 plus 8 minute winner against Tahiti United, while the Solomon Kings defeated PNG Hikari 1-0. And so there's still games on for the rest of the week. Tomorrow, the Davis podcast comes out, and Wednesday and Friday and Saturday, all the games at North Harbour Stadium, just up the road from where we're filming right now.
Yeah, good on.
So Auckland FC and South Island United will both play Vanuatu United and Buller FC over these next 2 match days. And we will just continue to update you about that as we move on to the Aussie NBL.
Yes, sir.
Hoop Fest, Dylan.
Hoop Fest, baby. So it was the Hoop Fest round, which is kind of like a super round for the ANBL. So all the games were played at Rack Arena in Perth.
Wow.
And then here we go with the games. So we had the Brisbane Bullets did lose to the Sydney Kings 95-80. The Perth Wildcats get the win over the Illawarra Hawks 92-87. The Breakers get a win 104-86 over the Cairns Taipans. The Melbourne United, close win, 79-77 against the Tasmania Jack Jumpers. And then the Southeast Melbourne Phoenix get the win over the Adelaide 36ers, a 1-2 face-off with the second place team, Southeast Melbourne, winning 108-89. So table update with 5 rounds to go.
Wow.
Adelaide are on top. They are 19-6, with the Southeast Melbourne Phoenix close behind on 17-8. The Sydney Kings are third, 16-9. Melbourne United 16-10 in fourth. Perth Wildcats are 15-10 in fifth, and then the Tasmania Jack Jumpers are 12-14 in sixth. That makes up your third to sixth, and then the Breakers are just outside in seventh, 10-15. And if the Breakers can actually get on some sort of a roll, which they have not been able to this year, I think they can make that sixth spot, but they'll have to have some stuff work out.
They'll have to work for it.
Yeah, it's been a up and down season for the Breakers, man. It's been a rough one. I'm not going to lie. To watch for me as a basketball guy and as a Breakers fan.
Oh yeah.
But Breakers will always be my team, man. So
of course.
Yeah. So hopefully we can make that 6, and then honestly, if you have a shot, we'll see what happens.
We'll see what happens, eh?
Yeah, man. But that's the ANBL Hoop Fest roundup.
Hoop Fest roundup as we move on to our international sports.
Yep.
And to the wonderful world
here we go.
of American football. You don't have to talk for 10 minutes about what you want to talk about for 10 minutes.
No,
But,
well, I'm going to anyway because I can.
so the NFL playoffs are upon us, and the wild card round was held last week, and the divisional round has just finished.
Yep.
The wild card round, the Carolina Panthers are unable to use home advantage and lose to the LA Rams 34-31. The Bears get a great last gasp comeback win over the Green Bay Packers.
Another one for them.
Another one, 31-27. The Jags lose at home to the Buffalo Bills, 24-27. The New England Patriots easily beat down the Chargers, 16-3. And the San Francisco 49ers beat the Eagles, 23-19.
Upset there.
And then, despite being 6-7 for a large period of the game, the Texans score an unbelievably amount of unanswered points to take the win over the Pittsburgh Steelers, Dylan's favorite team, 30-6. And massive news, and not the only big news in this reign. Mike Tomlin stepping down the Steelers coach after 19 seasons. All of them non-losing years. You got one Super Bowl out of Tomlin's run.
All good things come to an end. To a second. You are right. It's rough, man. Like we haven't won a playoff game in 7 straight seasons. Even though we've been there. Mike Tomlin's still a legend, though, man.
Oh, he has to be.
Is he a Hall of Famer? We shall see.
Yeah.
It's back and forth with that. But the Steelers are looking for a coach the first time since 2007. And I've said this here before. The Steelers have had 3 coaches since 1969.
Yeah. And the last time they were looking at a coach, you probably didn't know what a Pittsburgh Steeler was.
No, I didn't even know what a phone was, mate, at the time. So 2007. So... yeah, it's going to be, I think, within the Steelers community, within the Steel Nation, I think a lot of fans, which is what fans do, we want an offense, which we haven't had for quite a while, so it's like, go offensive-minded, but I don't think that's necessarily the case. I think it's actually very similar to the All Blacks. It's not necessarily who the head coach is going to be, it's who's going to be around him. Who's the offensive coordinator? Who's the defensive coordinator? How are they going to run it? Stuff like that. But there's been some great candidates that have come through. That the Steelers have interviewed so far, but I trust the Steelers will make. I have to trust that the Steelers will make the right decision. But it was sad to see Mike Tomlin say that he stepped down, man. And there was some crying going on in the locker room. So
there would be.
But what a great time! I can't lie.
But not the only vacancy available in the NFL.
No.
Lots of teams fired their coaches. The Baltimore Ravens, the other, because the Steelers bet them before the playoffs, which is crazy. So John Harbaugh leaves the Ravens after a very long time
and goes straight
to the New York Giants, where he inherits Jackson Dart and the animal they call Cam Scatterbo.
And can I just say as well, and I know the Steelers and Ravens have the biggest rivalry in the NFL, but can I just say yes, they do, absolutely do. Yep, it's you can go and you can
the Ravens and the Steelers.
The Ravens and the Steelers.
The Ravens have only been a team for 30 years.
Yes, the Ravens and the Steelers.
So you're saying
trust me,
it's a bigger rivalry than the Packers and the Bears.
Absolutely.
Than the Cowboys and anyone else.
Okay, but the Cowboys and anybody else is anyway. No, honestly, you go ask people, man. The Ravens and the Steelers, and that's because both teams are in there to compete every single year.
Surely the Steelers and the Eagles had each other more.
No. Because they're all different conference, mate.
Yeah, but they're still the same state.
Yeah. That's fair. So it's a geographical rival. But the Ravens, man, is two games each year of the most physical football that you will see. But the Ravens owner, I think his name is Steve Biscotti. The press conference he did after John Harbaugh got fired was the most hilarious thing I've ever seen. He gets asked if you guys had won against the Steelers and not missed the field goal, how long would John Harbaugh have been there? And he comes out and says, about a week. He comes out, who says that? And oh man, it was just a funny press conference, man. I have to give my respect to that. But there's going to be some changes happening, man. It's a new era of Steelers and Ravens football, man. We'll see what happens.
It will be, and we'll see what happens. And if you guys still have Aaron Rodgers next year, and you guys end up picking in the draft. But the divisional round ended earlier today.
It did?
Yesterday.
Today, as of recording.
The Broncos bet the Bills in overtime 33-30, and this pissed me off.
That was rough to watch, man.
This pissed me off.
I did watch this overtime.
But why this is pissing me off is probably just a very selfish reason why it's pissed me off.
Yeah.
Because in this game, Broncos quarterback Bo Nix got injured, and they announced he will not be available for the rest of the NFL playoffs.
He did, yeah.
Then what was the fucking point of winning?
Oh my God.
If your starting quarterback gets injured,
oh my God.
Why?
You sound like a real fan right now.
Why?
Is there no competitive bone in your body?
Why? What's the point of fucking winning?
Well, there's a broken bone now in Bo Nix's ankle.
Oh, yeah.
But is there not a competitive bone in your body?
But they're going to go and lose by 40 to the Patriots.
You do not know that.
They're going to lose.
I hope the Broncos come out and win and shut your ass up.
They're going to lose by 40 to the Patriots.
Get a competitive bone, man.
The Bills would have been closer, you know?
No,
and
I'm not a Bills fan.
I'm not a Bills fan for any reason. I just say
the Broncos defense has been elite the entire year.
But you're going to roll out a quarterback who's barely played in the last 3-4 years.
Oh, you suck, man.
And
Get a competitive bone.
I know this is selfish Simon talking right now.
Yes, clearly. Get a competitive bone, man.
Because I want the Broncos to win, but are they going to beat the Pats? But I don't mean... But actually, I kind of like the Pats. I apologise to the Broncos.
Also, can we just say here as well, and I know we'll get to the Pats game, but the Pats turnaround, to have this faster turnaround, you lose the best quarterback of all time and probably who's going to end up being the best coach of all time, and Bill Belichick, and in 3 years, I think it's 3 years, or something along those lines.
I think they lost Brady about 5 years ago.
Yeah, but Belichick, they lost, they haven't had for like 3-4 years. That's a quick-ass turnaround. Fair play to them.
Yeah.
Fair play to the organisation.
But Boston fans, you were never in the trenches. You never got there to begin with.
And shout out to Mike Vrabel, who should never have been fired from Tennessee.
No.
I'm so glad he's been able to go back to where he played. He actually played for the Steelers at one point.
Oh, yeah.
But has gone back to the team he won Super Bowls with.
I apologise to the Broncos for my outburst.
But get a competitive bone, man. What is going on?
Yeah, you won,
Broncos, you better go out and kick the Patriots' ass.
No, because I like Drake May. You know.
You mean Drake May?
Yeah, Drake May. Yeah, I'm a big fan of Drake May.
And I still want some of his wife's baking.
Yes. Well, we can see a Drake May can.
But no, the Broncos. That was.
It's frustrating for the Bills because I feel
rough,
like
man.
It's
sport though. It's professional sport.
Josh Allen
sucks.
He might have another chance next year. We'll see.
He'd go back to Haley Steinfeld. He'll be all right, mate.
He'll be fine. He's gonna have a baby to take care of in the offseason.
Who will not be all right? Although it was almost a miracle that they got here in the first place with the injuries that they had. The Seahawks put the 49ers through the ringer, man.
41-6.
Yeah.
Not a close game from the kickoff because the Seahawks returned the kick for.
They did.
Returned the
Rashid Shaheed, man.
Returned the opening kick for a touchdown. 41-6.
Sam Darnold showing everybody.
Especially the Vikings. Which is great. But earlier today, the Patriots fairly comfortable win over the Texans, 28-16. The Texans' defense was elite though in this game, but unfortunately, CJ Stroud.
That's such an elite defense.
Threw 4 interceptions in the first half alone, which is effectively sealed it for the Pats.
When they talk about sophomore slumps, which is your second year slump, I don't think I've ever seen anybody go through a second-year slump like CJ Stroud has just had this year.
I thought it was his third year.
No, I'm pretty sure it's his second.
Surely he wasn't a rookie last year.
But I'm pretty sure he was. Oh, no, sorry. Even if it's his third year. But you get what I mean, right?
Yeah.
Like, in his rookie year, man, he played the Steelers. He looked fantastic.
I mean, he still made the divisional round.
Yeah, true.
This is his second season.
It is his second season.
Yeah, but he didn't have any honors last year. Like, he made the Pro Bowl in his rookie year.
Yeah.
But he didn't.
But he looked fantastic.
Yeah.
This year, not so much.
He's had his best record as a Houston Texan this year. Passing wise, his percentage has been better. That has been his best.
Yeah.
But he's thrown for far less yards, and that's gone down year on year.
Yes.
His rating has gone up from last year, though.
Yeah.
That quarterback rating.
Yeah.
Interceptions wise, less than last year, but not as good as that first season. But it is.
I don't know. I feel like there's been a slump there. He is still young.
He's still young.
The Texans have a quarterback there, in my opinion, and the Texans need a quarterback for a long time.
He will get out of that slump.
Yeah.
But then,
all he's got to do is learn from this. But that Texans defense, oh my god, they don't even hide anything. Like in the NFL, you're supposed to disguise because NFL quarterbacks are smart as frick.
Yeah.
But oh my goodness. The Texans didn't hide anything against the Steelers, and the Steelers, I mean, we don't have the best offense in the world.
No.
The Steelers couldn't do shit.
Of
And they've
course.
been doing that to teams the entire year. Man, I wish I had that. I mean, I love my defense, don't get me wrong, but man, I'd take some of that defense.
Oh, I would.
Let me tell you. But yeah, they it wasn't enough to beat the Patriots, so who are way too good of an offense to have that happen.
Way
So,
too good. And then you have the last game, which was played earlier today. The Bears hosting the Rams, and this one went down to the wire. Caleb Williams throwing off an unbelievable touchdown pass on fourth down.
That was some Madden ass shit.
I saw that live, and I genuinely jumped out of my seat, and I had to be very non-suspicious about it because I was at work. But then he throws an interception in OT. The Rams are able to return it, take it all the way up to the 20 and easily. Well, I don't know if it's the 20, but they slot a field goal to win an OT. So your conference championships this Monday, and if you live in Auckland, you don't have work, so you can watch these. Broncos versus Patriots at 9:30 a.m. and Seahawks versus Rams at 12:30 p.m. It's Auckland Anniversary Day on Monday.
That is a very good point.
I don't know if you have work, but I don't. So
no, I'm pretty sure I don't have work.
Excellent.
So hopefully, check that.
Broncos Patriots, Seahawks Rams.
Yeah.
I am predicting a Patriots Seahawks Super Bowl,
and I am of that. You know what? No, just to stuff you, mate, because you've got no competitive bone in your body. Come on, the Broncos. Just need one good game from Jarrett Stidham, who actually was on the Patriots. He was the third stringer behind, eventually, behind Tom Brady and Jimmy Garoppolo at one point. But come on, Broncos. So I'm going a little rematch. I'm going Broncos and Seahawks, but I'm not gonna doubt Matthew Stafford, who will probably be the MVP of this year.
Yeah, they were saying that in commentary.
And the Rams, who Puka Nakua's freaking awesome.
Yeah.
And Devontae Adams still there putting in the work. So you never know what's going to happen. But I'm going to go Broncos Seahawks because I want that competitive bone to come out, man.
We'll see what happens. But in college football, on the day this comes out, Indiana will play Miami in the national championship final. At 1:30 p.m. Indiana thumped Oregon 56-22.
They've thumped everybody in this playoff.
They've thumped everyone. In the Peach Bowl, and Miami edged Ole Miss 31-27 in the Fiesta Bowl. It's the first time a team has a chance to win a national championship at home, as the final is being held in Miami. It's Fernando.
If they do it, it's a major upset.
It's
Fernando Mendoza.
It is Fernando Mendoza
of Indiana.
Carson Beck and the quarterbacks and a bunch of other prospects along the board.
Yeah.
As we move on to another American majority sport, the NBA, and your weekly recap.
Let's go. So there's lots that goes on in the NBA during the season, so I'll just do pretty much a weekly recap. But to start 2026, or to start the CouchSide year of 2026, OKC is still on top of the West at 35-8. So anybody talking about they're better than 2016 Warriors, shove it.
Yeah, and I may have jumped the gun. What was it?
I told you, bro.
What was it, 75?
We made it. No, you said that'd be 69 and what's it called? 69 and 13.
Oh, no.
Which I guess could still happen.
69 and it's going to be 69 and 13.
It's not going to be. Man.
It's going to be 6, 7 and 15.
No,
whatever one pisses you off more.
Shut up.
Whatever pisses you off more.
Man, what doesn't piss me off is Detroit, who is still at the top of the East at 30-10, doing awesome. Boston, without Jason Tatum, doing awesome as well. They're second in the East at 26-15, and then the Spurs are holding on to second right now in the West, 29-13.
That's going to turn into a very long-term rivalry, the Thunder and the Spurs. You've got Wemby at the Spurs, and then you've just got the absolute fucking stacked Thunder team, which is not going to get worse anytime soon.
It's going to be interesting, man. But the Denver Nuggets with Nikola Jokic also very close in third, also at 29-13. And honestly, 4 and 8, fourth place and eighth place in the West and East are still very close and could change very quickly. My Warriors, they have been on a bit of a roll. We've been on and off, but we're at home at the moment on an 8-game homestand. We are 6-1 so far in that homestand. We are. I'm trying to think of the word. I think we are either 24 or 25-19. We're 25-19. We're in 8th at the moment, so we're in that running. The biggest game of this week, I think, by far, or this past week, Anthony Edwards drops 55 points, and they still lose to the Spurs, 126-123, behind Wemby's 39 points and 9 rebounds.
That's Wemby, man. But hey, like you've written down here, my boys, the Toronto Raptors, 2019 NBA champions.
Here we go.
4th in the East. Give me Scotty Barnes and Brandon Ingram in the All-Star game. Yes, please, and thank you.
Don't you mean
the Spectrum? Scotty the Spectrum Barnes.
Scotty Barnes, I think, could be in the All-Star game. I
think
would
he
not
should
put
be.
that, yeah.
He's up there in nicknames with Drake May. So
Yeah, that's a very good point. But also at the same time, I think this is the first time ever the NBA had a regular season game in London, which happened as of recording. We're recording on a Monday. Was happened 6 a.m. New Zealand time, and the Grizzlies did take it out against the Magic, 126-109, and this also happened today as of recording as well. Prayers up to our Kiwi Steven Adams, who injured his knee and was carried off the field.
Not ideal for him, and not ideal for the Houston Rockets.
No, not at all.
As we move on to
the Prem, baby,
the Premier League, and Manchester United under new interim caretaker manager Michael Carrick. We'll talk about that later.
Yep.
Bet Man City 2-0. A massive game.
Yes, it was
for both
good
teams.
Old Manchester derby.
Great Manchester derby. Man City losing the chance to possibly claw at Arsenal at the top of the table.
Yep.
Liverpool then held to a 1-1 draw with Burnley.
Yep.
Chelsea beat Brentford at home 2-0. West Ham, a massive win for them. Away at Spurs 2-1. Sunderland, another good win for them, 2-1 over Crystal Palace. Leeds beat Fulham 1-0. Arsenal unable to take advantage of the Man City loss to Andrew with Nottingham Forest 0-0. Wolves and Newcastle a 0-0 draw, and Everton beat Aston Villa 1-0. Brighton and Bournemouth will play when this podcast comes out at 9 a.m.
The little Seaside Derby, I've learned that's called.
Yeah,
so.
Seaside Derby.
Yeah.
2 huge signings for Man City in the January transfer window. Antoine Semenyo has been done and booked, and he's already scoring for them.
Yep.
Mark Guehi is supposedly signing for just £20 million.
Man, if I was a Liverpool fan, I'd be pissed.
If I was a fan of any team, I'd be pissed.
Yeah, true.
But Ruben Amorim was fired for Manchester United, as was Enzo Maresca at Chelsea. Maresca has been replaced by former Hull and Strasbourg manager Liam Rosnier.
Yep.
And Ruben Amorim has been replaced by Michael Carrick, who is contracted just to the end of the season.
Yeah.
And clearly has got off to a good start. And thankfully, you've put a table update here.
I did. I got you, mate. I've got you.
So, to start 2026, Arsenal are on top on 50 points, 7 points clear of second place Manchester City, and third place Aston Villa. They're both on 43 points. Liverpool are fourth on 36 points. Man United are just a point behind them on 35, and Chelsea are sixth on 34. Brentford, 7th and 30 on 33 points, equal on points with Newcastle, who are 8th, and Sunderland, who are 9th, and Everton are 10th on 32 points. And then if you go to the relegation zone, all the teams around there, Nottingham Forest on 22 points are holding 17th. West Ham are 5 points behind on 17 points and 18th. Burnley are 3 points behind them on 14 points and 19, and all the way back on 8 points is Wolves.
And can we pause it here for a second, because I've heard all this shit about how bad Liverpool has been.
They're fourth.
Brothers, you are in a Champions League spot. You cannot complain when your team Hull and my team Leicester are fighting it out in the Championship.
I believe that Hull are actually ahead of Leicester on the table.
They are, because we just lost to top of the table Coventry, who are flying in the Championship.
They are.
But honestly, you could argue from second to 14th or 15th in the Championship right now is up for grabs.
Well, Hull just beat Southampton away.
Yes,
and are currently in 5th with a game in hand.
Yeah, so it's going to be Championship is actually really interesting, to be honest.
Leicester are currently 13th.
Yeah, but Liverpool, you are in 4th. Yes, you'll probably get rid of Slot at the end of this year, or maybe earlier, which some Liverpool fans have been saying, including Liverpool fans that I know. But you are in 4th place in the Champions. You're in a Champions League spot, and I get you want to be high standard. We just talked about the All Blacks, but put it in some perspective, man.
Come on.
Come on.
But speaking, Xabi Alonso has gone from Real Madrid due to only after 6 months, mostly due to not getting along with the players, which I think is a crock of bullshit.
Yep,
He's been replaced by former Real Madrid player Alvaro Arbeloa. The Champions League does start back up on Wednesday morning, but really the only game of note is Serie A leaders Inter Milan hosting Premier League leaders Arsenal on Wednesday at 9 a.m. So that will be a banger. And we go to the African Cup of Nations.
And with that being said, there's a lot of people that Liverpool fire Slot now, so we can get Xabi Alonso. You know.
Hey.
That could work. That could work.
But Africa Cup of Nations time finished today. Senegal have won it for the second time, defeating the hosts Morocco 1-0 after extra time.
Have they won it a time before this?
They won it 2021. Morocco haven't won it since the 70s, and we're really hoping to win it for the first time on home soil after that fourth place World Cup finish. But unfortunately, they didn't. Well, fortunately, considering depending on who you talk to. Senegal were controversially disallowed a goal in the 90-plus second minute before they were controversially conceded a penalty, which was very harsh for both calls. I looked at both of them. But Brahim Diaz decided he wanted to Panenka his penalty for Morocco and missed. But before that, Senegal had actually briefly refused to play.
Yeah, they all went off the field.
The coach told them to come off the field, and play was delayed for 20 minutes. They then came back on. And
there was also a thing I did see, because was this final in Morocco?
Yes.
Yeah, so there was one thing I saw that where they were staying and where the pitch was, there was no security. And they were bombarded by probably Moroccan fans. Let's be real. So there was a lot of frustration that was built up there. But honestly, karma hits you, man.
And also, I don't know if it was a ball boy or a Moroccan player was trying to steal the towel of Senegalese goalkeeper Edouard Mendy, and then when a Senegalese player took the towel away, genuinely tried to square him up like it was his, which was ridiculous, and
Crazy.
shouldn't be a thing at all. Like, that's just trying to mentally get at other players.
But it didn't matter.
But it did not matter, as Papa Goy would score 4 minutes into extra time to give Senegal the win. Nigeria defeated Egypt on penalties in the third place playoff after it finished 0-0 to end off another AFCON. As we move on to today's random sport of the week.
We are back with a segment, people. We're back with a segment. We wanted to get back into these segments. So,
yes.
We're back into a segment, and we're starting off with random sport of the week. And when you told me about this, I was like, no freaking way that this has become a thing. And it's become a thing.
It's become a thing, and this is not a weird sport by any means.
No.
We're talking about tennis. But the Australian Open, which did start yesterday, had a couple of, warm-up events. And one of those events was on Wednesday night, where they hosted the $1 million one-point slam. Now, this was held last year at far lower stakes with not as much attention. But the one-point slam is essentially a one-point tournament where male and female professionals, amateurs, and celebrities all competed in a knockout bracket against each other in one night. So the aim was you just had to take a point from your opponent and you went through. I believe amateurs were allowed 2 serves and pros were allowed 1 serve to make it fair. But an Australian $1 million prize was put on. You had top players like Yannick Sinner, Coco Gauff, Alexander Zverev, and Carlos Alcaraz all involved. But it was won by amateur Australian tennis player Jordan Smith, who defeated the 117th ranked woman in the world, Joanna Garland, who had defeated Zverev and Nick Kyrgios back-to-back on her way to the final. Smith had been a professional, but he retired in 2023, reaching a high singles ranking of 1,141. He had also defeated Yannick Sinner earlier in the tournament and defeated fellow professionals Amanda Anisimova and Pedro Martinez before facing Joanna Garland, who represents Taiwan, but she was born in England. Half Taiwanese, half English.
That's crazy, though. A one-point slam for $1 million. I'm thinking amateurs. I said this to you. I'm like, man, we get popular enough. Get CouchSide Network in there, mate.
They had one of the Amish and Handy guys competing. I forgot which one.
Oh, true.
They had AFL player Bailey Smith involved. They had legendary, I believe he's from Taiwan, singer Jay Chow. So they had a lot of...
That's a sick idea.
And there was a massive crowd, lots of online. Obviously, an amateur winning was great. Coco Gauff actually said that she hoped an amateur would win it.
Yes.
So she was really happy. And
she got a mill. She'd be fine.
Yeah, but more and more players who didn't compete were like, I got FOMO watching that. I really want to compete in that. So I have a feeling, at least next year at the Australian Open, it might be another popular event. Maybe one of the other Grand Slams tries to copy it. If I'm going to think if it's going to be any of them, it will be the US Open.
Yes.
Because
the US will do some shit like that.
The French won't do it because they've got the special clay tournament, and Wimbledon, you can't go past tradition. And the US will be like, oh, that worked really well for someone else. Ours.
Yep.
So,
Ain't that a fact, man? But I'm saying, can you imagine we both enter and we both end up in the final.
Oh, mate, you versus me for a
We'd have
million
to do
Australian
some
dollars.
training, don't get me wrong, but man, I'd do it. I'd do it just for the fun of it,
That'd
man.
be so fun. Like, can I?
I played squash. I've
I
never played tennis, but man.
I did a little bit of tennis when I was like 12, and I did
Yeah.
a little bit of squash with a mate when I was in high school.
Yeah.
But hey,
You never know,
it'd be a
man.
lot of fun. Bring it to the ASB Classic.
Awesome idea. Awesome idea.
Which also has finished for the year, the ASB Classic.
It has?
I couldn't tell you who won because I've forgotten. But it was making my trips from work quite long, as I have to drive right past it to get home from work.
Yeah.
And the traffic. But hey, ASB Classic, good. I need to go next year.
1 Point Slam, we've got to get in it at some
gotta
point.
get
Looks
in.
like we're taking a trip to Melbourne.
We're going
at
to
some
Melbourne, boys,
point.
eventually. But on that
Oh,
bombshell,
man.
that concludes the first episode of the year
Season 2, Episode 1,
Of the
2026.
of the CouchSide Sports Report. Thank you very much for sticking to the end. We
Yeah, man.
rambled a lot about the All Blacks, but we also got to ramble about some other sports.
True
and
that.
like we said earlier, please follow us everywhere. Also, like the podcast,
Yeah.
whether you're listening on Spotify or YouTube. Share it with your friends, share it with
Yep.
your family, or anyone you think will like
Yep.
it. And do follow us on the likes of Instagram,
Yep.
TikTok, YouTube, wherever we are. CouchSide.network.
Yep. And
That's
if you're
where we
watching
are.
this on YouTube, there'll be a link tree in the bio as well to all
And
of
it'll
our
take
socials.
you everywhere. We hope to be more active this year, and we hope you guys are as receptive to it as we are. So thank you very much
Yay.
for watching. I have been Simon. That has been Dylan. And as Dylan coined last year, unless he has anything else to say.
Nope, I'm good. Let's get out of here, man.
Yeah.
Let's let them go and live their lives.
We all have lives to live. And on that,
Right.
couch side out.
Couch side out.